Russ said, I'm not happy with you, Seattle. Y'all keeping me out of these little shoddy offensive lines. Skip, he did this for a reason. He could have easily took this to management, let them know his frustrations, but that's not what he did. He wanted you to be in this situation.
Public.
He went public with
Yeah.
it. Skip, I said from the very first time I was talking to some of my friends, and I said from the time he started dating Sierra and marrying Sierra,
Yep.
Sierra ain't no housewife. She's an entertainer. She has a career.
Yep.
Look, unless you Macklemore or grunge band Nirvana, you ain't, Skip, you know, Pearl Jam, you ain't trying to live up in no Seattle.
Nope. I agree.
She needs to be L.A., New York, Vegas, somewhere where she can do her thing. Russ can play quarterback. It's fortunate they have teams. Now, obviously, the L.A. market is off the table because they got Stafford and they got Justin Herbert. So Vegas might be in play. The 49ers, I mean, at least you're in California, might be in play. I don't see them trading them to the 49ers, not within the division, Skip. But I am not surprised. They said this has been festering. So it just goes to show you, Skip, you really don't know, because we see a lot of time, oh, we're so happy together. Next thing you know, they filed it for divorce.
Yep.
Man, I thought everything was so good. They look so happy together. Skip, we get that all the time, don't we? They look so happy together. And all the while, they can't wait to get away from each other.
Yep.
And it looks like we're heading for this in this situation. Some things are going to have to change because this is so out of character for Russell. I haven't been around him that much, but the little bit that I have been around him, what he did on the Dan Patrick Show seems so out of character from the guy that the guy that I know, the little bit I've been around him. Oh, he sent a resounding message.
Premeditated.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So my first quick comment is on the quarterback carousel chaos we're about to endure here. It's lunacy.
Everybody about to have a new quarterback except about 5 or 6 teams.
Because I think a lot of them sat back and watched Brady leave New England and go down to Tampa and win the Super Bowl.
And get Skip, and get say. Oh, I won't let him for that.
I want him. I'll get Gronk.
You want AB too?
Yeah.
You want Gronk? Okay, we go get it.
Go get them all.
Yes.
No, I agree.
And I've been asking for it. I can't get anybody.
And obviously, all these quarterbacks are NBA fans, and they watch Anthony Davis say, I want out, man. I want to go to LeBron.
Right.
Oh, okay. Championship. Right. They watch James Harden say, I don't want to be here anymore. Right. You don't want to be in Houston anymore? No. I want to go join KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn. And now these quarterbacks are saying, I want to do the same thing. It's just hard for me to believe that Seattle is going to give into and give up on Russell Wilson because he is the Seahawks, and he has been for 9 years, and he's only 32, so he's still got, Brady's going on 44. It's just hard for me to believe they will give into this as unhappy as they are right now.
Yeah, Skip, he's like, yeah, I want to play till I'm 40, but getting sacked 40-plus times a season, I might not make it to 45 at the rate y'all going.
Okay, now back to the Carson Wentz syndrome in Philadelphia. Listen, Russell did not exactly endear himself to his teammates with what he said because he was throwing all of them under the bus, starting with his offensive line. I don't have... Well, how will Dwayne Brown react to that? How will that right guard of his, who's made the rookie team, that Damian Williams, how will he react to this? Not great, right? You saw what Walter Jones, your fellow Hall of Famer, said the other day? Can't do it. You called him out. You can't do it. Okay, so is Russell going to make it...
You know when they try to be encouraging to those guys, Skip, because they hold
your future, your safety in their
Your
hands.
protection is in their hands.
Okay, is it possible that Russell Wilson is going to play so out of character that he's going to make it impossible for Seattle to keep him because he's going to make so many waves? That's hard for me to buy.
Yeah, well, Skip, you know it's hard for me to buy that he actually said this publicly. That's hard for me to buy. If somebody said, you know, Russell is unhappy, you're like, I don't know about that. I don't seem like Russell. But for him to hear him verbalize it, and like I said, Skip, I think that's the thing that we're seeing is that guys that we wouldn't expect, people wouldn't expect Deshaun Watson to request a trade.
That's another one. Yeah, I agree.
So everything has gotten so out of... Skip, over the since last year, since Brady left, Skip, nothing gonna surprise me about any other quarterback, any other player.
One thing about the Las Vegas Raiders, Mark Davis and John Gruden, when they decide to plunge, they will go all in. So if they could to extract him, they would go to the ends of the earth.
And then she could have a residency right there in Vegas at the MGM or the Wynn or one of them places, and she'd be there every night doing her thing.
That would work. Still hard for me to believe, but
Well, we all agree that Russ spoke out for a reason, and we're going to have to see how this one plays out.
Let Russ leave. Y'all let Russ cook, let Russ leave.
Shannon. Okay, how much does Carmelo have left in the tank? We're talking about Melo next. Is no longer a Texan. In a video he released on Twitter this morning, Watt says he sat down with the McNair family, asked for his release, and they've mutually agreed to part ways. Watt thanked the city of Houston, but added, quote, "I'm excited and looking forward to a new opportunity." And according to Fox Bet, the Steelers and Packers have the best odds to land him, while his brother TJ is already actively recruiting JJ on Twitter. Wow, Shannon, how much can he help another team? This is big news.
That's a very interesting question, Skip, because I think the injuries over the last couple of years have kind of robbed JJ of his explosiveness because he was as good as we had in the league. He was being Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald burst onto the scene. And so last year he had 5 sacks in 16 games, Skip, and it was with he played a full season. But that was the first time in like 2 years of the last 5 that he's played over half the seasons. Torn pec in 2019, tibial plateau fracture in 2017, 2 back surgeries in 2016, Skip. You see a lot of lower stuff going on, which makes a defensive lineman explosive. Now, TJ Watt, they play a 3-4 defense, maybe goes to his brother. The Packers, Wisconsin, goes home. Is he one of those guys that you're talking about that's willing, that Tom Brady can recruit to go down to Tampa and play in that system? So it'll be very interesting, Skip. It's hard to say what it's hard for a guy that's had these kind of injuries to get better later in their career. But maybe a fresh start, maybe going somewhere else, hearing different terminology, being in a different environment can revive J.J. Watt. Because there was a stretch there, Skip. We thought he was going to be the best defensive player to ever walk into the NFL.
Going on 32 years of age next month, 10 seasons. The Texans just let him go. So I assume they attempted to trade him, and there's no market trade-wise because these teams will sit back and say, well, we can probably get him for free.
And you heard him speak out earlier, Skip, about his displeasure of what was going on in Houston. So this was...
No doubt.
Probably saw this coming.
So you and I opened this show back in September of 2016 with you going on record. You thought J.J. Watt at that point, just over 4 years ago, was the best player in football, said Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe. Not the best player on defense, the best player in football, said Shannon Sharpe. All those injuries have piled up since then, and he has slowly sunk into the sunset with the Texans just because his body is betraying the way yours finally did at 35. But his is happening a little earlier because he is high contact, high collision. And as you said, 2 back surgeries. He tore his pec, knee strain, broken leg, ab tear, elbow dislocation, multiple hand injuries because he's always clutching, grabbing, trying to hold on to somebody. And so you say, well, how about performance? So I go on what I respect. You got a little respect for Pro Football Focus, but last 3 years he's started to fade down. But again, he was the 21st best defensive player this year. 21st, that's pretty good.
Defensive player or defensive lineman?
Defensive player. All defense. All defense. It's still pretty good. You know, like, there's some value there. It always happens if you can just, because he's been stuck in a sad sack situation in Houston, sorry situation. Now the young quarterback wants out. Well, obviously, that wears on you too. So if you change scenery, if you have a little bit of a rebirth, you know, obviously, if you can reunite with your younger brother in Pittsburgh, if you can go home to Wisconsin, if you can play with Tom Brady, whatever it is, it's just going to revitalize you, and maybe you feel a little better. Let's do Tampa. Maybe you go to Tampa and you're living in the warmth and the heat. Even Brady said, man, I wake up every morning, I feel so much better than I ever felt in New England.
It's different.
I'm never going back.
It's different, Skip. After, practicing in Denver, then going down to warm weather places to play. We played in Miami. We played in Tampa, had in Tampa, played when I was in Baltimore, or going to San Diego. Like, man, in January like this, and it's like this year.
Okay. I don't know exactly how much I would risk on to pay him, but I think he has high value for a year or two, where you could get Sue value out of him the way the Bucks did, because Sue still is playing at a fairly high level. He's not what he was coming out of Nebraska. But he helped them a lot this year. He helped them
Yes.
past Sunday.
He had a sack and a half.
He did.
In the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And we know he's always been great against the run. But Skip, like I said, these injuries, I think as the injuries started to mount, you saw JJ production start to wane.
Yep.
And I think some of that had to do with his training. And I think he had to change up the way he's training.
Sure,
and that's the hardest thing to get, Skip, is that when you're an elite athlete and you're young, you can train not only with intensity, but with volume.
Yep.
The hardest thing that I had to understand to back away, Skip, I couldn't do the volume. I couldn't do the 10, the 15, the 20, 200-meter sprints. But I couldn't get that through my head until I started pulling hamstrings. I started pulling groins, and I started pulling quads. And I went. My trainer was saying, Shannon, you can't run at 25. I mean, at 30, at 33, like you did at 25.
Nope.
So stop.